This isn't like Louisville, Lamar Jackson. This is like
that's what
Louisville.
This is Scott Satterfield, Louisville.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're not a big Satterfield fan, right? Or Nate? I feel like
I like Satterfield.
No, you like Satterfield?
I think he's a good coach.
Who's the other one in the ACC that you don't like? Obviously, Dabo. There's someone that you didn't like. I was like, damn.
What's his face at NC State?
Oh,
yeah, Dave Dolan.
Yeah, you hate. Yeah,
that guy is a certified salt and vinegar bottle.
What?
Hey guys, it's Terrence Mann. You're listening to Hear the Spear, presented by Noel Game Day. Go Noles.
Hey, what's up? This is Peter Ward, aka E-Dub, in the house. So we're listening to Hear the Spear, presented by Noel Game Day. Go live, go Noles.
Hi, this is Charlie Ward, and you're listening to Hear the Spear, Go Noles.
This is Terrell Buckley. You're listening to Hear the Spear, presented by No Game Day. No Bloody.
But perhaps better known as the greatest corner to ever step on a football field, Deion Primetime Sanders.
Great Deion Sanders, my brother. What's going on, man? I could wake up to that greeting every day, man. That was awesome.
Hello, Noles fans. This is former Seminole Derek Brooks, and you're listening to Hear the Spear, presented to you by Noel Game Day.
James Wilder Jr. What's going on, James?
Thanks for having me on. SSOD, Florida State or Die, and go Noles.
William Bar None Floyd.
Gentlemen, what's up?
What is happening, guys? This is Logan Robinson from Hear the Spear, presented to you by Noel Game Day. We are here on this fantastic, beautiful Wednesday evening here in Tallahassee.
0-3, baby. 0-3.
Exactly. Woo. Like what I was just about to say. Florida State starts off the season 0-3. We did our instant reaction Saturday night right after that. Tonight we'll be going through a lot of quick hitters, a few topics here and there with some recruiting. Dustin and I were in attendance for Florida State's practice on Tuesday, and we also had Noah there covering it this morning. So we'll have latest on the practices. We're talking a little bit of college football week 1. We'll talk some NFL. Noles, they're firing off on all cylinders there. And then we'll talk some Florida State versus Jacksonville State. Who do we want to see at quarterback? Maybe we'll see another guy.
Why are we talking Florida State at Jacksonville State?
I don't know why it says Florida State at Jacksonville State. I don't know why it says that. Oh, I'm on the wrong docket. I'm on the wrong docket.
I was wondering because you're like college football week 1. I'm like, where are we at?
I'm on the wrong docket the whole time. We're all over the place. 0-3, and this is what happens. Yeah, I was like mixing in everything. But
help you out there. Playing Louisville 3:30 on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it to me. That ruins my whole day. It really does. We'll give score predictions, and Austin has the latest with basketball on the schedule release. With me this evening, we've got Nate Greer, lead recruiting insider. D-Lou is up there at the top. Dustin Lewis, lead writer and editor at NoelGameday.com. And then Austin Veazey, lead basketball writer with all the novels going out like it's Harry Potter week. Holy smokes. 2,000 words on a position?
What's wrong with that? What, like, schedule release, though. Schedule release. We can talk about
this man
that.
did 6 paragraphs on Justin Lindler.
Okay, it was 2.
Nah.
It was 2. All right. It was 2.
Got to over-exaggerate a little bit.
Yeah, just a tad. Nate, how's it going? How are things feeling?
About the season or in general?
No, just personally real quick before we get into the really fun part.
Personally, it kind of sucks, dude. So, my dog has cancer. So I had to take my dog to the vet. That was a ridiculous amount of money. Florida State's 0-3. Hey, Chicago's starting Justin Fields, so that's a positive.
I was going to say that could be a positive for
to. Otherwise, my sports life sucks.
I think a lot.
At least Chicago's won. Minnesota can't relate.
Yeah, I think they're in a 4-way tie for first right now.
No, it's Chicago and Green Bay at the top, and then Detroit and Minnesota in third.
As good as the NFC West is, the NFC North is just horrible.
I'm pretty sure the worst team in the NFC West would be the best team in the NFC North.
But yeah, little crazy busy week. We published 60 articles last week. And I think this week we're looking at least maybe 75. It's been absolutely insanity over there. We were at practice on Tuesday morning early, and then Noah's also there on Wednesday morning. So now we get to bring this to the show and give it a little bit more coverage. Before we jump into everything, you can always subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play. We're also on Spotify. Subscribe there so then you actually get to see whenever the new episodes get dropped. Gentlemen, we got a little bit to talk about here tonight. Let's kind of start off really with our last thoughts on the Wake Forest game now that we've been able to gather everything, have conversations with everyone, and have some time to think. That was, once again, a brutal loss. Florida State doesn't score in the second half whatsoever. What's going on with the play calling? Where are guys being put? Is it time to see a lot more youngins on the defensive side of things, maybe even offensively too? What really went wrong against Wake Forest?
So I'll just say, I think this team in general just really struggles with adjusting. They come out with a game plan, but when the other team shows them something different and hits them in the mouth, they just can't adjust on the fly for whatever reason, whether that's, with coaching or, obviously there's still some issues on this roster that the staff is trying to get ironed out. And, it didn't happen on Saturday. And I talked about it in the post-game recap, but we're seeing those same issues from last year where this team is just struggling to get something done in the second half for whatever reason. Jacksonville State, you only get 3 offensive points in the second half. Wake Forest, you get 0. So, hoping some of those adjustments finally come through on Saturday and you see, hopefully more of a full 4 quarters throughout the game against Louisville.
They got to find a way to sustain drives. They've been struggling with it all year. We talked about after the Notre Dame game. It was so boom or bust, and it's just been the same since. The offense just has not found a way to sustain drives. On defense, they can't get off the field, and even when they get to 3rd or 4th down, they make a mistake and the offense extends the drive. They're doing everything wrong. The only thing good that came out of that game was I got a tan from being at the game. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's been a very poor showing the last couple of games.
Now, my concern is you sit here, listen to the coaches after practice and talk about how they rep it in practice and how in practice everything goes well, and then they get in the stage and they just jack it up. Like they can't get it together, when they have to the most. When it comes down to game day, they just revert to old habits. They don't communicate. So, it just tells me that, this team just doesn't have the right pieces yet. And I know everyone's frustrated with the coaching staff. I think we all have our frustrations, and some of it is deserved, but, just listening to a couple of different podcasts and just reading and thinking about it, it's just FSU doesn't have the pieces that they need in order to do what they want to do. And, it's pretty telling if they can rep it in practice, but in the game, they just fold. So, this team has to continue to get mentally tougher, just get some dogs in there, some guys that want to play ball. And I don't think we're there yet.
One thing to note on is Coach Atkins talked about how, his offensive line is a position group whenever in practices and drills and in the film room, they're calling out the right things and they're all correct. They're all on the same page. Everything's working great. But he mentioned when it comes to game time, they challenge. It's a big challenge for them, and they're not all together. There's not a lot of chemistry. And he mentioned, doesn't help too with how many combinations that they've had to try out there and actual game time and have so many different combinations. So that hurts the chemistry. But he did say, there's a lot of times where, a player that he thinks is going to do very well this upcoming weekend just struggles, and it's a whole 180 from what they're seeing in the film room and on the field during drills, and that stinks.
Yeah, and like you said, Atkins pretty much said in the moment when these guys have one opportunity, to make the correct play, a lot of the times they struggle to do so for whatever reason. But in practice, they're getting it right. Whenever they review film and look at the mistakes they made, the guys know what they should have done. It's just when it comes down to actually executing, in that 5 or 6 seconds of a play, they're not doing it consistently enough for whatever reason. And like you said, Logan, I mean, the injuries have had a lot to do with that on the offensive line. Obviously, guys have been shuffling out each game, and you even had Darius Washington at center on Saturday. Atkins said that was the first time that Washington had ever played center in a game during his career. So a lot of guys are still adjusting. And, we talked about in the preseason, we were like the one position group where FSU cannot have a ton of injuries is at that offensive line. And you look through 3 weeks and it feels like everyone is banged up.
Yeah. And Trayshawn Ward talked to the media when we were there, and he talked about, having the refs in attendance during the practices helps the whole team be accountable and helps them understand, maybe where we need to be lining up better and understanding that scheme, because the penalties has also been a problem for Florida State, and that just continues to be a thing. And I thought I saw some improvement last year, but it just kind of fell off right at, during Jacksonville State, and now it's been on a trend since. And you got to hope going into this upcoming weekend that has to be fixed. And I think a lot of the complaints this whole week since we last recorded was Dillingham's comments about saying that he wasn't fully prepared. Their offense wasn't fully prepared for Wake Forest's defense, and it earned a lot of turmoil on Twitter, because that's just a comment you can't state. First of all, you don't put that out publicly, and secondly, what do you think Wake Forest was going to do? I mean, they faced 2 nobodies, and then they're going to come and they've got Florida State coming to visit on a game. Things are going to be switched up. That's just college football. That's just kind of how it goes, and that just started a whole national thing, and it's just not what you say.
Well, no guys hit it right when they talked about the fact that it's now on tape. Jacksonville State, FSU's athletes couldn't separate. Now against Wake Forest, again, FSU doesn't have the ability to get open in the passing game. So, what we saw in the Notre Dame game, that could have been a bunch of smoke and mirrors. So this staff has to figure out how to get those guys open on a consistent basis. When you look at the one-on-one matchups, who can beat the one-on-one matchups? Who do you guys think right now on the roster can beat one-on-one matchups on a consistent basis? I don't know.
Maybe McLean.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe McLean, but other than
that. I think that Douglas could. He's been able to make a couple of big plays.
And that's just crazy.
I like Williamson too. I think, but it all starts up front. Like you said, Dustin. We talked about FSU couldn't afford injuries to start you start the season 3 games in, and you've already had a handful of different mixtures on the offensive line. They thought they had maybe 8 or 9 guys that could play up front, but they don't have that consistency in that carryover from game to game yet, and so it's impacted the entire offense. You look at the defense, and they've been able to get to the quarterback more, and you haven't seen as poor overall DB plays we saw last year because they're getting to the quarterback more. It's the same thing, man. It's a team sport, and one part's not doing the job. It's going to throw off the whole thing. But I never in my life have I seen a Florida State team that doesn't have athletes that can beat Wake Forest. So this is a real challenge for Norvell. I refuse to think that he's lost his innovation as an offensive play caller coming into FSU. That's one of the things about him being an up-and-coming head coach and one of the best offensive coaches in the country. I think that's all still legitimate. And whether we like it or not, we have to be patient until the pieces that they really won't get there. And it's really just, I think that's why people are calling for the youth movement.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely disappointing because you look out at wide receiver and, coming into the season, you felt okay about the veteran options out there and Keyshawn Helton and Ontario Wilson. Then you also had Andrew Parchment coming in from Kansas. He was expected to make a big impact. Obviously, he has not so far, whether that's because, either he hasn't transitioned like Florida State thought he would, or the coaching staff isn't putting him in the right positions to have success. But that wide receiver unit, I mean, it's been a total bust so far. And I think at this point, you look at the tight ends, because I think you do have a guy who's a potential mismatch there in Cam McDonald, and he just hasn't gotten a whole lot of looks through 3 games. And, you've got 2 seniors there in McDonald and Jordan Wilson, guys that we thought could really help this offense coming into the year, and they just haven't been utilized a ton for whatever reason. And, Norvell really likes to use his tight ends. I'd like to see some more of those guys get involved the next couple games, along with the running backs. I mean, obviously Treshaun Ward has been fantastic. Jashaun Corbin has been pretty good as well. And we got a chance to see DJ Williams in practice this week. I'd be interested to see if he can get some game reps, because, I mean, that guy looks like he could be a beast as well. So you've got some options. You've just got to figure out who to give the ball to more often now.
The only thing I'm concerned with is they're going to run into, like, the 2013 era Vikings problem where they're facing 7 and 8 man fronts because no one respects the passing game. At some point, you're going to face a team that goes, okay, we're just going to stick 8 in the box, see if your receivers can get open. And they're going to play man-to-man across the board and see what happens. Eventually, that's going to happen, especially against like a team like Clemson, who absolutely has the athletes to keep up with us, even if you can consider that. At some point, you're going to see it, because right now, that's all that's working for Florida State is Treshaun Ward, Jashaun Corbin, and every now and then a screen works. But other than that, there's nothing downfield happening, and that's going to be an issue going forward until they can figure out a way to make these big plays happen. We saw one big play, one deep touchdown pass last week, but other than that, it's not on a consistent basis.
No, it's not so pretty. And the one thing I'll end off on really is your best running back is Treshaun Ward. I know you want to keep Corbin in there, and I don't think Corbin's having a bad season whatsoever either. That's not, my point here. But whenever you're establishing the run and you're driving down the field, it should be against the law to take number 8 off the field. That completely ruined Florida State's drives numerous times. It's happened throughout the season, and it happened last year too a few times, but it continues to be the case. There's no reason to see 9 in there if it's not working. You could throw in 0, but, 8 is doing fantastic. He's bringing you down the field. Why take him out of the red zone? Why would you even do that? You ran Wildcat with him in the red zone. Why are you taking him out against Wake Forest? Why do you take him out while you're still driving down the field? I understand maybe a little tired, but you want to get him back out there as soon as possible. That's something that I found is just blasphemy. And I think also if you look at DJ Williams, it seems like he's getting into a rhythm now. Dustin and I were able to see him, and he moves faster than I thought he really looked. I was like, dang, that's DJ Williams. He moves quick. And now that he's back, it seems like getting close to 100% to be able to play. Is it going to be a dang four running back rotation? You know who your best players are now. You're 3 games in. You stick with those 2, and that's number 8 and that's number 0.
I would like to see 9 more in the passing game. Just to open some things up, but
that's where he needs to. That's where that's going to be the case. That's where he should just be used for.
I was debating Steve a little bit on this, on the Mark Rogers postgame podcast and on Twitter a little bit. I know Florida State only had 51 plays. That's mainly due to the turnovers, but I don't like the fact that the running backs only had 15 carries. Jordan Travis had 11. Some of those were, sacks or whatever, but, that's not going to get it done. I know, I get it. We've talked about Jordan Travis ad nauseum, but when you have Corbin and Ward running really, really well, so far this year, and I think they total had 13 carries, and I think Philly had 2. I just question it. I know that Dillingham talked a little bit about that they felt that they didn't have an advantage up there and that they were creating a little bit of a dog and pony show with the run game. But I don't understand why you go away from it and go ball control with you. You definitely can't consistently get the ball downfield. So, and looking at those, when I do the 5 plays that change the game, I look at the plays, I watch the game, and then I look at each play. Florida State had a couple of drives where they were throwing the ball really well, and they would just shoot themselves in the foot. So, it comes down to discipline and execution. And those are things that 3 games in have gotten worse from game 1, and that's a concern.
talking about the running game, I just think, they instantly got pushed off target of what they wanted to do because, obviously the defense forces that turnover on the first drive. You instantly turn it back over. Weight goes up 7-0. You come back down. I'm pretty sure on second and third down, they tried to run it twice, got stuffed. There was a 3-and-out. You pump back, commit that roughing the punter penalty on Wake. Bam, it's 14-0. So now it's like, all right, do we keep trying to run the ball and potentially lose more clock, or do we start putting it through the air now to try and get back in this game? And it was 14-0 early on in that ball game. I just don't think they really got to do what they wanted to do. But at the same time, it doesn't make an excuse for the performance we saw out there.
Yeah, and that's after the end of the Jacksonville State game. So they, you have that. You already question the mental aspect, and they come in. This team is shows when they're doing well, they hang in, but still they can't handle the adversity. So, but no, I don't think I don't think Arkansas is more talented than Florida State. I think they just have better culture. Yes, culture is a thing. I don't think that they were as bad off as FSU was. So, I think top to bottom, Florida State's got a better roster. Pittman's a good coach. I'm not taking anything away from Norvell. I think Norvell's a good coach. I just think Florida State has a lot more to overcome right now. It's more than just on the field with FSU.
Yeah, I will say it's kind of weird. It just doesn't really feel like the offensive coaches have figured out a rotation yet. Because, we talked about a little bit, but once again, you see the flip-flopping with Mackenzie Milton and Jordan Travis at quarterback for the first 4 or 5 drives, and, you get them sprinkled throughout the game. And then you, like you said, Nate, the running backs, Lawrence Toafili only touches it twice, and you only get 15 total carries or whatever it was. You've got so many guys coming in and out. There's just no chance to ever establish a rhythm. So, I mean, I'd really love to see them cut down to the top end of this rotation and just play like a couple guys, because right now what they're doing with so much switching, it's just not working.
No.
And I'm not saying it's a 2013 team. It's not even close, but 2013 team didn't take that next step till game 4. So, they made a lot of personnel changes and switched things up. Putting like Ramsey at safety, putting Christian Jones at defensive end. They made some changes here and there that really put that team over the edge. And I think now, or I would hope that going into game 4, you kind of will see, instead of all the rotation, you see the guys and just let it ride.
Shout out to Eric here. Eric Angel with the 20 bomb. Definitely appreciate the support. Eric's always in here chatting it up with us. I love having him in the chat, but thank you for the kind donation.
Yeah, we need that because Dustin's out of shaving cream, so for his back.
That is true.
So
this is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to go towards Dustin's back hair fund.
Yep. So anyone want to throw an extra 20, we need a new razor for him. So
that is true.
His Manscaped got all caught up and broke. So
yeah, I know. Now we got to figure out a way to support Dustin's trimming of his back hair.
So
I
got one in my Amazon cart. Dustin, don't worry about it. I got one coming for you.
Be able to
appreciate you.
Early wedding gift, man. Early wedding gift.
Oh, you're gonna need it.
That's what I want.
I know that's what you need, not one you need. Oh man, good stuff. But yeah, that's kind of final thoughts there on Florida State versus Wake Forest. We move on, right?
Hold on. Wesley says we need more energy. This team needs more energy. This team needs to have they need to have something positive, but from you guys can talk about it if you want, but from what you saw, what I've heard, the energy has been very low at practice, so that's a concern going into a Louisville game where they could get blown out like they did last year. So
well, I mean, even just during the game on Saturday against Wake Forest, I mean, you saw it whenever these guys went down early. They had their heads down on the sideline, and it looked like, well, here we go again. And I don't have an answer for it. I don't know how you get out of that rut, but eventually, I mean, you've got to overcome that mental fortitude and just go out there and face the adversity and get it done. And it's going to take one game. You know, I don't know when it's going to happen, but there's going to be a moment where I think that switch kind of starts to flip with some guys, and hopefully it just carries over with the entire team.
It really needs a switch. You know, we'll get into it now, but looking at the practices on, you know, Tuesday and Wednesday, at least the one that we were in attendance for, it was pretty bleak in my opinion. Just not a lot of energy, not a lot of guys talking to one another, not a lot of guys hyping each other up. And, you know, Austin was in the production man there. He's like, well, they're 0-3. I mean, do you blame them? And I don't blame them, but, you know, the biggest thing that I put on is where are the leaders at? I don't see any leaders on this team right now. I know we were hearing the good things about Jermaine Johnson, Karen McDonald, and a few others, but all throughout that practice, I mean, guys weren't talking to each other. They went to go get drinks and, you know, during their water breaks, and no one's kind of chatting it up with one another, just kind of sitting on their own, just chilling with their cup of ice and Powerade. And then we heard today that, you know, Noah said that things kind of turned a little bit and they had more energy. Mike Norvell was really happy with how the team was performing, gave a lot of good, you know, say so to a few of the players, and thought that they were in the right spots, right time. And so, you know, maybe we were just there at a bad practice, and that happens in football during the weeks, even with good teams. That still happens. There's still one of those days out of the week where it's just not so fun to be at. I mean, majority of us have played ball. So majority of the practice, I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Yeah, you know how many times that happened in the 2013 season, man?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Once, twice a week, just really just awful practices.
Mm-hmm. And that happens.
Where Jimbo would just have a Jimbo breakdown
and kick someone off the
kick someone out of practice, call practice, forget about it, you know, just freak out.
Yeah, but what were your kind of first indications from being in attendance for the first time at practice, D-Lou, and anything key to take away from that?
Yeah, man, I thought it was a pretty cool experience because obviously, I mean, for me at least, that's the first time I've been able to be out there watching a Mike Norvell run practice. So it was cool just to get to see everything for about 2.5 hours. And, you know, I thought some of the wide receivers out there looked very good. Obviously, we haven't seen Brian Robinson yet this season, but he made a couple of splash plays out there and indie drills. And, you know, really seems I would love to see him start to get more involved in the game plan moving forward. Along with, Nate, you said it earlier, Ja'Kai Douglas, you know, he continues to take reps at running back and wide receiver. He had that long touchdown against Notre Dame, and he's just got a ton of speed. And even last year you saw it against Duke, where I think he had 2 touchdowns in that game. It's just, you get him in space.
He's disappeared since then, man.
Yeah, I mean, it makes no sense. He's like been phased out of the lineup. He's another guy, I think. I mean, you need some burners out there at wide receiver, especially right now. You mentioned no one can get open. There's no speed out there. I mean, you know, we've seen Keyshawn Helton and Ontario Wilson for last 3, 4, 5 years. You kind of know what they are right now. They're decent veteran options, but they're not high quality starters. You know, it's good to have guys like that in your rotation, but you don't want them to be your top end guys. That's someone you want Malik McClain to develop into.
I'll tell you what, man, like I know that, you know, this team has needs across every position, but you know, for me, after watching, you know, 3 games, Kevin Coleman is like priority number 1. Like getting Destin Hill on campus is like priority number 1. You know, they need bad. That. Like need it. Bad.
I need it.
Like
it's like SpongeBob. I need
it. Like those are 2 different animals compared to what FSU has right now. You know, I think that's one reason why they were pushing so hard with Dustin. And, you know, I know he wasn't an early enrollee, but spending time with him during spring and him sitting in on Zoom meetings and trying to get him ready. Because I think they knew, you know, coaches aren't stupid, but, you know, they got to get him in January. They got to get Kevin Coleman.
Yeah, this goes to
they got to get it.
This was a question from 21 in the YouTube chat saying, Nate, besides Duffy and Hunter, who are the other prospects that we can't afford to lose? So,
I everyone committed right now. I mean, to be honest with you, I think they have a good class put together. I mean, you look at Kushan Sapp, you look at Charlton. I mean, I think they got to keep what they have in the trenches. I think they've done a good job on both sides of the ball so far.
Woody.
It's not a great year for defensive linemen, but they got Daniel Lyons committed. Omar Graham, he's the only linebacker committed, really. That's a concern. But you look at Sam McCall, they got to keep him. They got to keep this class that they have right now. I like Brian Courtney, man. You watch him play. And I think he can bring a little bit to the table, as a jumbo athlete. So, I mean, but when you look at uncommitted, right now, I would say my top 3 or 4 are Kevin Coleman, Marvin Jones Jr., Elijah Pritchett. Those are like the 3 that they got to bring home.
True.
Like they got to land those 3 kids.
Going back to Brian Robinson, like we were talking about earlier, he had I thought he had a solid practice on Tuesday, and then today Noah mentioned him quite a bit as being a player that's in the right spots, making grabs and playing very well and performing nicely. And it's time to start getting these guys into the rotation a tad. Get these guys that are young, give them a chance. We saw flashes during the spring game, and then we don't really get to see them during the season. We see them out there, but they don't ever get targets thrown at them. Got to get these guys like number 3 out there and give a chance to them.
Yeah, and same with DJ Williams, because I think there's potential he could bring something you're kind of missing in that running back room, kind of a guy that runs with power. But from what we saw on Tuesday, also has some speed as well, and he's got quick vision, will hit the hole fast. And there was one play, he just hit it right up behind the left guard, ran by the linebacker, boom. It was a touchdown, easy. So, he's kind of been set back a little bit during fall camp, missed the start of the season. Would love to see him get involved sooner rather than later, for sure.
And if I'm not mistaken, spring and et cetera was Brian Robinson was the only one that could get open on a consistent basis. So you talk about guys who can't get open one-on-one matchups, guys who can't stretch the field, guys who can't win and help the Florida State offense. Not saying that he's a definite guy who could do it, but we haven't seen that. So I'm all about giving the youth more minutes.
Yeah.
So
if you guys were in our Discord, you guys knew about this hours and hours ago, but a cool little moment here where Brian Robinson was getting locked up, was frustrated in the play before. Mike Norvell came over and coaches him up on what he needed to do. The next rep, Brian Robinson goes and runs a beautiful route, and Mike Norvell yells, yes, there you go, Brian Robinson, and taps him on the helmet. So, I want to see more of 3. I don't know why he's kind of being hindered off the chart for these games, or maybe not including any kind of offensive swing.
He's been banged up.
Get it in there.
He hasn't been fully healthy.
Yeah, and it's like that. It looked 100% to me on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Which maybe was a change from last week. We haven't been at any of the practices, but it looked like he had been doing this for a while.
Yeah, and one thing I will say is the coaches, they're still 100% locked in. They're getting after it out there, trying to get these things corrected. I remember watching the quarterbacks and wide receivers, or maybe it was the running backs, work with Kenny Dillingham, and he was just harping the ball placement, the way that the wide receivers were turning upfield on the sideline, just getting all over them for the slightest mistakes. Norvell as well. He was booming all day. Odell was on the other field. I could hear him screaming at guys. So, these coaches, they're still fired up. They're trying to get this thing right. And, these guys came into Florida State with good credentials. This is a good staff. They've proven themselves at other stops. So, we're seeing some frustrating things right now, but I do have belief that they're going to start getting this thing turning in the right direction, even if it may not be this season.
Yeah, that's a good comment there. Let's talk Chubba Purdy. Dustin, I thought he was the best quarterback there on Tuesday. Once
a lot of
again,
reps.
Seems like got a lot of reps. We got to see some mistakes. Norvell talked about it during the presser afterwards that he does still have those freshman mistakes here and there, but he's really liking his growing improvement. And I thought he made some nice plays, some really beautiful throws. I think he's pretty quick rolling out of the pocket. I think he might be as fast as Jordan Travis there with his legs. And so, be interested to see if Jordan Travis isn't fully healthy, good to go. That is number 2 option for Louisville. And if things go sideways or things aren't going good with number 10 out there, could we possibly see Chubba Purdy this season?
It's possible. I mean, it's not something I'm opposed to, because from what we've seen through 3 games, the consistency with Mackenzie Milton hasn't been there all the time. You saw those turnovers last game. And with Jordan Travis, it just feels like he gets banged up a lot. And, obviously this is Milton's only year in Tallahassee. Next year, this is kind of going to be a quarterback battle between, hopefully Jordan Travis, Chubba Purdy, Tate Rodemaker, and AJ Duffy. So, if the season continues to kind of, go off the rails, I guess you would say, sitting at 0-3, I think it'd be time to go ahead and plug Purdy in there, see what you got, because, he's going to be a big part of the future, hopefully. By all accounts, whenever he came in, he was one of the top quarterbacks in the nation. Obviously had those setbacks last year and kind of got back to it over the offseason. But, he's still a lot of potential to be a future, a dual threat for FSU.
I'm all about it. I think I'm experimented out with what's happened so far. So, take your lumps and understand the season's a wrap. So, take your lumps now and move forward.
Get some more options there at quarterback, because it ain't working so far. So yeah, that's kind of latest there on practice notes. And one thing to note here, Nate, for you specifically, you talked about him quite a bit. Warren Thompson been officially put on scholarship over there at Arkansas. He's gonna be over there with Kendall Briles, offensive coordinator.
Good for him, man.
Yep.
Good to see him get another opportunity. Hopefully he can, keep his head out of his ass and, do something positive.
And then moving on to Travis Hunter, your actual really favorite guy. Said,
yeah.
I'm switching you around. I'm pulling you up and down in every which way, trying to keep you awake. Travis Hunter said he is indeed committing on Instagram Live. He said he's 100% locked in. Doesn't matter if they go 0-10. Now, listen to me.
What happens if they go 0-12?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is Travis Hunter smarter than everybody in the world, except for us here on the show. 0-10.
He put in a loophole.
There's a way for him to get out of this contract. There's a way for him to get out.
Listen, arguably the greatest recruit of all time is still firmly committed. So, you have to look at and understand that these guys are still bought into what the coaches are trying to do. Like I've said on a lot of these podcasts, Florida State fans need to understand recruits don't look at this the way that we do. They look at it as, how they can come in and help and how they can do things for the program and help the coaches, et cetera. So it's good to hear. I feel even more better about it when, the ink is dry on the letter of intent, but you have to like that, the aces, the blue chippers in this class are saying the right things publicly. So that bodes well as they continue to push for this class.
I love Nate's progression on Travis Hunter from best player in this class to best player in the last 3 classes to potentially best recruit of all time. I love it.
I don't know what it's going to. You got to give it some time here. Let us get to at least before he steps on.
I mean, that's where we're at now, man. The guys proved it in practice, on the field, 7-on-7, camp settings, whatever you want. This guy's proved that he's it. And he's even better with pads on, if that's even really possible.
Yeah, so, one thing I will say is this recruiting class really goes as far as Travis Hunter goes. As long as he is a member of Florida State's class, and continues to plan to sign with FSU in December and whatnot, this class isn't going to fall apart. I think you might have a couple guys jump off ship. The ones that I would probably be looking at right now are maybe Aluba and what's his face?
Oh no,
missing a name. Either way, the offensive lineman from Alabama. It's just slipping my head right now. But
Who are you
yeah,
talking
so. Okay. But yeah, a couple guys could jump off ship. I think it's important to keep
talking about Jalen
monitoring
Early?
things with no, he's from Texas, with Sam McCall. But I really do feel he's really good friends with Travis Hunter. So as long as Hunter sticks, I think McCall sticks as well. Now I'm gonna go look.
Now he's gonna go look for the name.
While talking about Woody.
Yeah, Tavius Woody. I was mentioning him earlier.
I don't know, man. Like
I don't know if he
visiting Auburn this weekend.
I'd be more worried about the three. I would be worried about are Aluba, Woody, and then Trevius Williams.
Trevion Williams.
Yeah, Trevion. Whatever.
We talked about when he committed. The Mississippi schools, they never give up. I don't know what it is. Like, it came back with Luke Altmaier and bit Florida State in the ass. We'll see if it happens again. But, we saw.
Hey,
go ahead.
I got to follow up with that. So, what happens with Luke if they sign Arch Manning?
He's got. He'll never see another snap.
Yeah,
Bad times for Luke. I don't know.
No bueno.
I mean, I don't know, man.
That's your boy. You heard from him lately?
No,
yeah,
I haven't heard the last time I heard from him is when he told me that he was about to decommit. So when he was like, "Yeah, I'm done with the podcast. I'm done with the diary," and then when he decommitted, he's like, "Hey, I'll always be a Florida State fan. Good luck to you." That's last I heard from him.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, sad times. But
doesn't hurt any less. It's been almost a year, but
yeah. So let's jump into a little bit of basketball stuff before we get into the FSU versus Louisville preview.
Hang on, I want to go back to practice real quick, Logan.
Go ahead.
You never talked about your flag counter.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Florida State had refs out there like we had mentioned earlier, but I, on my notes, I did the most important thing, and that my top right corner had a flag counter with tally marker right there. And there was about at least probably, I just started counting them just a little bit later. So there was probably about 7 or 8 flags throughout the entire practice that were being distributed. It was between drills, and then you had 11 on 11. There was 1-on-1s where the ref was calling pass interference. That had to be called about 2 or 3 times on DBs trying to get a hold of the wide receivers. But, flags are still a problem. Discipline on the field is still a major problem for Florida State. And it puts them in a really bad hole. They lose their momentum, like y'all talked about earlier. It loses Florida State's momentum on offense and on defense.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I want to bring up, that the DBs are still having some issues in the back end with letting players run free. And, we did see a couple big plays given up yesterday. I remember walk-on wide receiver Parker Self had, I don't even know how to describe the catch he made over Travis J. It was just something ridiculous out there. And like you mentioned, the penalties. So still a long way for that DB unit to continue to go. I did like what we saw from some of the younger guys, like Kevin Knowles. And man, I'd love to see him get in the rotation some more. Really, in general, the whole defensive backfield, I'd love to see kind of more of a youth movement. It feels like some of the current starters have kind of lost their confidence. Like they're just kind of going out there expecting to give up a big play or commit a penalty or whatever, and they're just not totally focused. So just give me some new blood. Let me see what the young guys have.
Davion's asking, how do you guys feel about the targeting rule? The targeting rule, obviously, it's been a big conversation.
I hate it. I hate the fact that the kids get thrown out of the game. I think that's stupid. I get the importance of it and why you do it, but now I think we're starting to see and increase the knee injuries because guys are now going low because they're so afraid to get kicked out of the game. So, I think it's just as bad if a guy just destroys his knee. But I don't hate the cheap shots, but I don't necessarily think they should get thrown out of the game.
And I think it's tough for the kids when it goes back and review, like where it's not called on the field. There's a pause in between plays, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're going to review this for targeting." I think that's even tougher.
Mm-hmm.
For me, if the refs don't catch it immediately, I think kind of let it go because it's tough on a kid where he thinks he makes a play, then 5 minutes later he finds out he's thrown out for targeting. That's tough.
That and when the guys are running the ball, and they tuck their head in or down, and they almost initiate the targeting or the helmet to helmet, whatever. A guy can't stop mid tackle and change, where he's going. So I think that some of these that you see with the offense, I think that the refs are leaning more towards protecting the offensive player when sometimes they're the ones that initiate the targeting call.
It's annoying. And as a fan, I just hate it. Just ruin. I mean, the games last so much longer, and I'm just sitting here, and it's usually the most obvious thing ever where it should be called in a matter of probably about 10 seconds. That's how it is for almost any kind of review we see in college football, but it just seems like it's so much longer now, and it's so annoying to watch. It's Jesus Christ.
I just feel like they kind of abuse the rule a little bit because, I mean, it was kind of made for egregious helmet-to-helmet contact, and now you just see it for any type of helmet-to-helmet contact. You look back to the Louisville and Ole Miss game on, I believe it was Labor Day night, and I think 4 or 5 guys got ejected in the first half for targeting and ended up with like 7 or 8 total targeting penalties in the game. It was something ridiculous. Yeah. So they just have to be smarter about calling it. When people are purposely going for the head or violently going for the head or whatever, that's when it should be called. But when it's kind of like a he said, she said play, there's no malicious intent, just let it go.
It's football. Good God almighty. Jesus. And then don't even get me started on the NFL celebration thing. That's just, they're ruining. Roger Goodell's what he's going to do. He's going to ruin it. And then everybody's going to get mad. Then he's going to say, oh, no, we're taking that away, where now they can go back to celebrating. And then he just wants to get all the hoolah and be like, oh my God, I did this. I saved NFL. And then he did the same thing whenever the touchdown celebrations. He was highly against it. They tried restricting all of them from doing it. And then he gets a backlash from everybody. And then a few seasons later, hey, it's back. Yay, I'm the good guy, blah, blah, blah. You're ruining the sport. Why don't you make it more fun? Because it's hard enough for now people to keep their eye on a game. They're on their phone checking what people are saying about the game and on social media. Let the game be entertaining. If a kid, an 18-year-old is making a hit and it accidentally, and it's obviously not malicious of any nature, and it accidentally happens and you're not calling it on the field, it should be just called off, or you should just keep on moving along with the game. That's just how football is. But it's ridiculous. And then it makes you think, as a DB coming in to hit a running back, you also got to think, okay, so I've got to hit him here, but what about that ruins your tackle there? And that also ruins the play for you. Then you go back and look at film and the coach is like, well, why didn't you tackle like that? Well, no, I didn't want to get the call on me. It's just too much of mental stupidity sometimes with things. Let's jump into some basketball, VZ, before we move into our preview of Louisville. What do we got? We got a little basketball schedule. Everybody should be in a good mood right now during this segment.
Big thing was the schedule came out Thursday night. It was a weird time for it to be announced. 7:30 on Thursday night was weird. But honestly, it's not a bad schedule. You open conference play at home against Syracuse December 4th. That'll be FSU's chance to tie the ACC record for most consecutive home conference wins. And then potentially the record breaker against Louisville in January. Louisville's going to be a good team. They got a lot of talent. There's a couple question marks here and there, but every team in the ACC has question marks. That game in early January is going to be a lot of fun if Florida State beats Syracuse. I'm imagining another very raucous environment like we saw in 2020. Hopefully that's the case. You only have one big Monday game. at home against Duke on January 17th. Only tough part is you have to play at Syracuse the Saturday before. Not an easy flight going from Syracuse to Tallahassee. And then other than that, the main notable thing was this 4-game stretch of February where you play at UNC, home against Clemson, at Duke, and at Virginia. That's brutal. That's a really brutal stretch. Virginia won't be as good as they've been the last few years, but still having to play on the road at UNC, at Duke, at Virginia, back-to-back weekends, that's tough. That's a really tough stretch.
That is rough. And when you say it's a little rough for a younger, I guess they still got experienced guys on there, but a lot of younger talent on the team. And so that's going to be a learning experience for them, definitely on during road games. Florida State seems to have that good home environment. And obviously the streak is going to be gigantic. But when it comes to road, and these younger guys, it's going to be a whole new something they've never seen before, a whole new setting.
I mean, luckily with having some transfers in, like Caleb Mills, he's been in these environments. The American Conference is it's not a bad conference. That's a good conference. There's some good environments, whether you're playing at Memphis, whether you're playing at Cincinnati. Like, there's some good teams in that conference. He's going to be used to it. You still have veterans on the roster like Anthony Polite, Wyatt Wilkes. You have veterans on this roster. It may take some time to gel it all, but it's going to be a good team and hopefully a good season. We'll see how they handle that stretch in late February. We'll really see what kind of team they are then. But other than that, it's a solid ACC schedule. Your early road games aren't tough at Boston College. I would be surprised if Boston College wins a single conference game this year. They're just terrible. At NC State, whatever. At Wake Forest, whatever. At Syracuse, we'll see. At Miami, at Georgia Tech. Like, those are your early road games in the conference. It's not bad. Georgia Tech's not going to be the same Georgia Tech they were last year. It's not a bad schedule.
Yeah, I mean, obviously one player that a lot of FSU fans are looking forward to seeing is Kentucky transfer Cameron Fletcher. Maybe, the most raw, talented guy on the entire team. So, what do you think he can bring to Florida State basketball, and what's his role possibly look like for this squad?
He struggled to score in his 9 games at Kentucky last year. And the situation he dealt with in Kentucky was one of the weirdest situations you ever see from a player, where a coach just goes on Twitter and says, "Hey, we're sending this player home." That's like, you never see that happen. But he's exactly what you want exactly what you expect from a Florida State guy. He's long, athletic, and is going to defend for 94 feet, be up in your face. He's probably not going to score a lot. I'd be shocked if he did, but he's going to make a lot of winning plays that don't show up in the box score.
I'm excited for a point guard.
Worley's going to be fun. Caleb Mills is going to be fun when he gets his chance to run the 1. I think he's going to start games at the 2, but he's going to get some time to run the 1. Worley's going to be one of those players where in two or three seasons you're looking at like, wow, this guy's really, really good. And then Raekwon Evans, at this point, they just need him to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you talk about Caleb Mills' defense at all? Because, the potential with having Fletcher and Polite maybe share the backcourt with a good point guard defender. I mean, that just makes FSU's guard lineup crazy. Yeah,
obviously Mills is going to be known for his offense. I put a highlight tape in my article about the guards on Monday. But he's a really good defender. You don't play for Kelvin Sampson and not be a good defender. It's just the way that works. You got to be tough, nitty-gritty playing for him. I think he only played a couple of games last year, but he was averaging like 1.5 steals per game. Even his freshman year, I think it was like 0.7 steals per game. He's going to get his hands active. What I love about him is he's not afraid to defend the basket in transition, which is something Florida State preaches. He's going to get back, contest shots at the rim, and that's what you love to see. He's going to fit right in, and he's going to provide something Florida State hasn't had at guard since Dwayne Bacon, a guy that can consistently score, and even Bacon was a 3.
Who do you think is going to be the best freshman?
Oh, Cleveland.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not much of a debate for me. Worley's going to be solid. He's going to do stuff that doesn't stand out. Cleveland's going to be one of those guys where it wouldn't surprise me at all if he comes out averages 12 points per game. It just wouldn't surprise me at all. There are people saying he's the best finisher in the 2021 class, regardless of the prospects. Elite level athlete, elite level finisher. If he can find that 3 ball, he's going to be one of the best players in the ACC.
So what are you thinking? Like 31-2, 31-3? We're Florida State.
40-0 is where I'm
40
leaning right
now. No, I think this is probably on paper another Sweet 16-ish team.
It really depends how. I'm really concerned about scoring.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not concerned about Mills. And Polite took that step forward last year where I think he can be an 11, 12 point per game guy. But you got to have that third guy step up. If Cleveland struggles out of the gate, where he's only shooting like 35, 38% from the floor, who else steps up? Is it Worley? Is it White Wilkes? Like, it gets kind of bleak if he's not scoring the ball well. That's really the only thing I'm concerned about, but I'm pretty confident he's going to be able to shine right away. And then you got to see some development, especially from Cameron Fletcher. Like, I really need to see him shoot the three ball well. Hopefully Tanner Ingam, Quincy Ballard, and Naheem McLeod are taking big steps forward. Same with Malik Osborne. He just really wasn't comfortable at the four last year. Hopefully he's a lot more comfortable at the four this year because he's going to have to play it a lot.
How do you feel about this team if Balsa comes back?
If one of Balsha or Raekwon Gray comes back this year, I think it's a top 5 team. Just from what they did individually last year, and especially down the stretch. I was reading an article the other day where the last 7 games, Balsha's on-off numbers, when he was on the court, the team was just was miles better defensively. And the eye test backed it up. The team was so much better defensively when he was on the floor. He had made such great progress there. We'll see what happens this year. It's not a strong crop of bigs between Ingam, Ballard, and McLeod. Hopefully one of them takes a big step forward, because if they really struggle to protect the rim, and hopefully they're not switched on the perimeter as much as they have been in the past, but if they're struggling to protect the rim, it gets kind of tough down there. Luckily, the ACC is not there's not a ton of great bigs in the ACC. Notre Dame got a really great transfer from Yale. I forget his name off the top of my head. And UNC is always going to have great bigs. But other than that, and Mark Williams at Duke, obviously. But other than that, there's not very many great bigs in the ACC this year.
Yeah, so if you're looking for all kinds of in-depth coverage so far, Austin has been killing it, and also killing Dustin's fingers when editing and getting put into the site. But Austin so far has guards and wings up. What's up next in position?
Bigs will be whatever day Dustin decides. Probably it's either going to be Friday or Sunday, if I had to imagine.
You write it.
I know, but I don't know if you want to do basketball stuff the day before a football game. So
yeah.
Sure.
Hey.
Whenever you send it to me, I will get it up for you. I don't care.
I'll send it to you tomorrow night.
I don't care if it's Christmas Day. I'll get it posted.
Might need the distraction after the weekend.
Yeah.
We might want a Sunday piece.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Can we cut that sign in half to 25 days for basketball?
Hey,
I wish.
I think everybody would take it. Oh man, Mendoza says loves Austin's Knowles basketball coverage. We love it too.
Best on the beat.
Start strong this week.
And now we can say, hey, we're on the beat, gentlemen. We're on the beat.
We are on the beat.
We're on the beat, baby. You want to start rapping like that? All right, let's get moving on here Let's go ahead and move on here into some Florida State versus Louisville game preview. Gentlemen, Florida State is looking to get its first win of the season before September ends. That's the goal in mind. Florida State faces Louisville at 3:30 this upcoming weekend on the ACC network. If I'm fully correct on that, D-Lou, I believe.
No,
Yes.
you're wrong. The game.
It's on ACC
The game
network.
is on. I thought it's on ESPN too.
No, it's on the ESPN network.
On the ESPN.
It's on ESPN too.
I just Googled it.
The game against Syracuse is on ACC network.
Yeah, it's starting to transition to the ACC network season now. That's what you get when you go 0-3.
And then Miami FSU is going to be in the Ocho.
Yeah, we'll figure out if that's on Nickelodeon or The View. I don't know where they're going to be putting that on. But how are we feeling heading into this game? How do we feel?
I feel like Malik Cunningham's going to run for 175 yards because we don't have the linebackers to keep him in the pocket. That's how I'm feeling.
Ran over 90 yards against UCF this past weekend or past Friday.
So Cunningham has 6 of their total 7 rushing touchdowns. So he rushed for 207 yards. You take away all the sacks, he still got 200 yards rushing. He's only thrown for 639. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's definitely still more force on the ground, which is a scary thought because who's gonna spy him? Gainer?
If I'd imagine they move Brendan Gant down,
yeah, you put Gant in the
and
box.
have him spy. That's my guess. I mean, obviously we won't know until Saturday, but I think he's the only one athletic enough and big enough where you can stick him down the box, but also have him kind of keep up with Cunningham. Cunningham is one of those guys you have to keep him in the pocket. You can't let him dictate the game with his legs.
No, you have to put the hurt on him too. You watch Louisville with him, and the teams that hit him a lot. He's extremely hesitant. So he's one of those guys that doesn't really like to be hit too much. So they're gonna have to really put him on his ass as much as possible.
Yeah, he had a bad first half in their opener against Ole Miss, but ever since that, I mean, he's bounced back strong.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we can talk about that performance against UCF on Friday night where they put up 42 for the win, had over 500 yards of total offense. And I mean, man, just seemed to be clicking on all cylinders. And now they're going to be going against the Florida State defense that has been pretty unimpressive, to say the least, in the defensive backfield as of late. The linebackers are a liability as well. So, there's a lot of potential. And FSU's offense, man, I mean, they're going to have to keep up because there's potential for a lot of points to go up on the scoreboard. And you remember the game last year, I believe it was 48-16 in Louisville's favor. Florida State did not score in the second half, or if they did, maybe they got a field goal. I can't remember off the top of my head, but like I said earlier, this is one you've got to score all 4 quarters and stay in this game throughout, or Louisville is going to wipe the floor of Florida State. And coming into the season, I had this game predicted as a win. I'm not feeling so confident now.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people are feeling pretty confident about it. I think they'll be us in the stadium and 16 others. I don't expect there to be. Am I wrong? Nate was talking about 50,000 last week. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what that's very nice. That's more than Jacksonville State.
I think there's going to be,
or close to it.
I think there's going to be 50,000 people there.
I think there'll be 32,000.
Never. 30 maybe.
I think there'll be 52,227.
227. Can't wait until we get up there and be able to hear the
but like,
there's just not going to be a lot of energy there. And this team we talked about earlier, this team needs some kind of positive thing. It needs a switch, and it doesn't have that yet.
So
and I don't think the crowd's going to bring it. They've lost that.
So just a couple things. Louisville is 4-1 against Florida State against the spread in the last 5. So, what straight up FSU is 1-6 in the last 7 games. And, now comes in Louisville, who beat a pretty good UCF team. It was a track meet, 42-35. Louisville's defense isn't that great. They don't get to the quarterback very much. They only have 5 sacks. They only have 7 quarterback hurries. But they're still an aggressive defense. They just don't get there. Even Eastern Kentucky had like a 67% completion percentage against that defense, but they only had 4.4 yards per completion. So, I mean, they are allowing, I think, 76% against, Division I caliber quarterbacks. They don't get to the quarterback very often. They're giving up 5.01 yards per rush. Some of that is that Ole Miss game. Ole Miss just pounded the ball on them. They gave up 4 rushing touchdowns, I believe, to Ole Miss. But you also looked at the defense played 2 good quarterbacks. They played Matt Corral and they played Dylan Gabriel. So they played 2 good quarterbacks. So you have to, I think, put a little, asterisk there on their stats in the passing game. So, but I don't think this is a great defense. I mean, they're good on third down. Louisville offensively is really bad on third down. They're only 36% completion, or 36% on third down. So, it's like FSU. Both teams aren't really great on staying on the field so far. I think that Louisville is really feasted on Cunningham's legs. So if they can knock that out and take that part out of the game, force him to be a passer, I think that's really what FSU's got to do on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and I mean, Louisville's defense, it doesn't really scare me, but Florida State's offense does scare me, because like I said earlier, it just doesn't feel like they've been able to get out of their own way so far, whether it's just the constant rotations, the penalties, the turnovers. I mean, eventually something has got to go right, guys? I mean, eventually. There's got to be some kind of – it's just been so negative that it's got to turn into a positive.
Good things come in 49 days. That's it.
But Ole Miss is really bad. I'm not Ole Miss, but Louisville is really bad on first down. If you throw against them, I forget what the stats were, but they're giving up a ton of yards on first down when teams throw on first down against them. So, situationally, Louisville, they're aggressive, like I said, but the stats don't show that. That they're getting home and that they're necessarily a great defense. So this could be something that can help the offense in terms of getting a little bit healthy when it comes to big plays and putting points on the board. But I don't think any of us really have a lot of belief that's going to happen.
Johnny's saying 8-5 with the bowl win is still possible. # good vibes. You gotta have these kind of people. You gotta have these kind of people in your life, though. Guys.
You got some good Mary Jane.
You got to have these people, though. There's only a few in Tallahassee still and across the country that have the kind of
technically still go 10-3.
Yeah. So Florida State went 0-4 in 1974. That was a year after they went 0-11. So that was a 15-game losing streak. So in 74 they went 1-10. So FSU is talking about going 0-4 for the first time since 1974.
47 years.
Yeah, and that year they went 1-10. So
could be comparable.
It's crazy, man. So I mean, there's a lot riding on this game.
It seems like that's every week now. Have we gotten past it? This is the most important game we've had in so many years. Is that dead now?
Every game until they win is a must.
It is important.
Now that's just a regular thing to be said. I remember we just say it maybe once every 2 years when we're previewing a game, but now
you got to celebrate the small
week.
W's, man. This would be a small W, in order to get some positivity, with these players. But FSU is 73rd in the F+ ratings. Their offense is 59 and the defense is 78th, and they're 69th in S+. That was of last week. So
surprised the defense was that high up, honestly.
Yeah. But
Florida State has scored more points than Clemson.
Yeah. Whoop-de-doo. They're 100th in scoring in the country.
There's a chance, Nate. The comments are saying it. There's a chance.
There is a chance,
I'm just making you bite on stuff.
if they can make Louisville one-dimensional throwing offense, yeah, they have a good chance. Because, I think that Florida State can get after the quarterback and put pressure on Cunningham. But if, like Austin said, if he gets out loose and runs all over them, you can forget about it. He's going to go for 175 and 3 scores.
This is the game last year where Jordan Travis went off. He's no longer on this team. Well,
they still lost.
I shouldn't say on the team, but I shouldn't say that. But he's on the team, but doesn't feel like it. Doesn't feel like it.
They still lost, though, right?
Still lost.
48.
But that was a lot of your offense.
How did he go off?
90%.
16 points. That's not going off.
No, made some impressive plays. That was your only offense. That was your only offense.
Where he
and you still can't throw the ball again.
Yeah, he had the one play.
Yeah, where he dribbled the ball off the ground for a touchdown.
Which game am I thinking of where he had his moment? Is that Boston College?
No, that's when he came in against Jacksonville State or whomever last year and played well and helped them win.
No, not at all.
Otherwise, Duke,
stop it! Oh, my goodness.
I mean, let's think about the schedule for a minute because you've got Louisville this weekend, a middling ACC team. You've got probably one of the worst ACC teams in Syracuse coming in next Saturday. And if somehow Florida State doesn't get on the board with a win here in those next 2 weeks, I mean, you're looking at going into North Carolina at 0-6 or at 0-5 and coming back to play UMass at home with the Fighting Walt Bells at 0-6, looking for your first win. And man, can I tell you how unpleasant I would be if Walt Bell came into Tallahassee and somehow beat Florida State with one of the worst teams in the entire FBS. I think Jacksonville State would beat UMass by 30. I don't think that's a question.
I'd probably get kicked off the podcast.
On Marks, yeah. We let you get out all your stuff with Mark.
I think I'll get an email from Mark. Hey, Nate, appreciate the effort, but I'm going to move a different direction.
Yeah. There's not going to be enough beep noises. You don't have a beep thing
No.
where you can just hold it down, beep, and you just say everything that you need for about 5 minutes. Yeah, no, I mean, looking ahead, I don't even want to look ahead. That's not.
No, but you look at Louisville. They played a team that looks to be a good Ole Miss team. Offensively, UCF looks pretty solid. They're running for 4.42 yards a rush. Cunningham's really their big threat. Their number one wide receiver target is actually the tight end, Marshawn Ford, I think his last name is.
Yep.
And he's got 13 catches. But, again, I just don't trust Florida State right now. So, I'll give my prediction, but this is – damn, dude. Like, it's Louisville. This isn't like Louisville, Lamar Jackson. This is like
that's what
Louisville.
This is Scott Satterfield, Louisville.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're not a big Satterfield fan, right? Or Nate? I feel like.
No, I like Satterfield.
No, you like Satterfield?
I think he's a good coach.
Who's the other one in the ACC that you don't like? Obviously, Dabo. There's someone that you didn't like. I was like, damn.
What's his face at NC State?
Oh, yeah, Dave Dolan.
Yeah, you hate. Yeah,
that guy is a certified salt and vinegar bottle.
What?
Dude.
If you're watching out here, Doran, appreciate it. Nate's not a big fan.
Yeah.
See you NC State week for that. This is another big weekend. We'll have instant reactions from the press box this weekend. So we'll be joining up there from inside Doak. We get to see the lights on after the game, and we'll be seeing if Florida State gets their first win or not. Hopefully, maybe all it took was us to get into the press box, have credentials for Florida State to turn this thing around.
Either that is because I can't watch the game because I'll be at work. I can't wait for Florida State to win. I'm like, oh yeah, you can't watch a game all season. Can't wait for that.
I did want to bring up a stat. I think it's time for Noel Game Day to part ways with Sports Illustrated because Florida State in the Noel Game Day Sports Illustrated era is now 0-2 with a loss to an FCS team. So how about we put that option on the table?
Hey, do you want to go ahead and do that right now, Dustin, with the stats we're looking at currently? I don't think it's I think you have tied yourself to that website.
We got to take one for the team, man.
No one's taking – no.
I'm good, bro.
Nah, I think we'll stay. I think I'm pretty good. I'm fine with it. Oh, man. Gentlemen, before we jump into score predictions, let's give some love to our friends over there at Hobbit American Grill. They've got two great locations in Tallahassee, one off of Capitol Circle Southeast, 400 Capitol Circle Southeast. Definitely go check them out. And then they have another location right next to Doak. Go there before and after the game this weekend. They really hook it up. 2020 West Pensacola Street. Like I said, it's half a mile from Doak. The best wings in town. I love them. I'm almost there every Thursday and Sunday night for my NFL wings that I need. And the owner told me too, while I was meeting with her, that they actually, if you tell them ahead of time, you call them a few hours before, they will set up a TV with your NFL team, MLB, anything, or even college football too. They'll change the channel for you, and they'll set up a table or two for you and your friends to come by. I don't know of any other restaurant that does that in Tallahassee, and they hook it up, and they're awesome. and I also want to help out a local restaurant in town. So, and the wings are amazing. I know Dustin can talk about them a lot, but the wings, garnet and gold. If you want a little spicier, you go with the garnet and golds. Can never go wrong. I like the Carolina Gold, extra wet, extra crispy.
Carolina.
Oh, the Carolina Gold is ridiculous.
I really like their boneless wings, man. They're great.
They're chicken nuggets with sauce on them every time. I'm going to tell you that. But definitely go check them out. I'll tell you guys one last time. 400 Capitol Circle Southeast is their location, kind of more north, and then their south location in Tallahassee is 2020 West Pensacola Street, half a mile from the stadium. Go before the game and go afterwards.
Tell them No Game Day sent you.
Yeah, tell them No Game Day sent you. They would love to hear that.
Please.
All right. Let's do it. Score predictions, everybody. Now, Nate is in last place. It is a tie at first. Nate was the only one that predicted Florida State to beat Wake Forest. He was trying to go take a solo lead there. He's going to take an L there. But he has a chance to maybe, who knows, people could be switching up here. I don't know. We haven't talked about it in the production meeting. We don't know what kind of score predictions are going to be happening here. But I went second.
I think we all know.
Whoa.
I'll go last.
I'll bet money that none of you will predict Florida State to win.
I'll go first. I'll go first.
I ain't gonna pay you
from last to first.
So, screw it. Florida State 30, Louisville 28.
Wow.
Nate.
They get on the board.
Let's start.
Nate.
They get on the board, man. Florida State pulls it out.
Do we know what the staff, out of all the staff, all the writers, do we have an update there on who took an L last week so we can shout them out?
I'm going to predict FSU to win every game until they
win.
Stop.
5 of our 9 staff members predicted Florida State to win last week.
Can we name them? Are we able to name?
Nate.
Call them out.
Noah.
Dang, Noah. Rookie Noah.
Jacob, I think. I could pull it
Damn,
up.
basketball Jacob. Rookie basketball Jacob to your son. Awesome. What are you doing with your son?
Charleston did too.
He'll learn.
Charleston did?
Yep.
Oh, Charleston.
So
hey, I'm not
I got FSU 30, Louisville 28. I got Florida State pulling it out. I got Ryan Fitzgerald kicking a field goal as time expires to redeem himself after Notre Dame.
That would be something.
Like it's a dramatic thing.
Florida State gets their first W of the season.
And we have a happy Nate after the game.
And then they go on a winning streak before they go to Carolina.
I hope so. Nothing would make me happier than Florida State beating Louisville and Syracuse these next 2 weeks, so I can go to Chapel Hill with some kind of optimism.
That's right. You're going to Chapel Hill.
Maybe. We'll see.
Whoa.
You
bandwagon fan.
You got to go to be supportive, but you also got to go to watch Sam Howell.
I'm gonna bring another basketball sign too.
Nice.
I think there's gonna be some regression to the mean. You know, Nate mentioned the stats earlier, how they're not terrible. They just got to finish drives. At some point, there's going to be regression to the mean. They're going to put points on the board. This is a good chance to do that. Like we've talked about, Louisville's defense isn't great. If you can sustain some drives, especially run the ball, they really don't have a good rushing defense. If you can run the ball, keep Malik Cunningham off of the field, they have a chance. But Florida State hasn't shown me anything to say they're going to do that. So I got Louisville 44, FSU 27.
Goodness gracious!
I'm picking Florida State to win a game until they actually win one. So I don't care. I don't care if I get every damn prediction wrong.
Nate has gone to full on.
I'm gonna will this team to get a W.
It's gonna be Nate. Nate did everything for No Game Day to give us Sports Illustrated since he's joined, and now he's gonna save the football program.
Now I'm gonna save the program. I'm moving on to bigger things,
Bigger and better things with Nate Greer.
I'm going to go in the opposite direction because I remember last week, I don't know if Austin said it on here or if he wrote it on his score prediction on the website, but he said, I will not predict Florida State to win another game this season until they actually do. And that is exactly how I feel. I mean, this team, they've just proven to us time and time again that they don't have what it takes whenever the lights go on. I mean, you can do it right in practice 1,000 times, but when you get out there and get your ass whipped when it matters, no one really cares how you're practicing. And yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful that things start to get turned around this week, but I'm going to predict based off what I've seen to this point. I'll go Louisville 45, FSU 20.
Oh my God. Jesus.
Sorry.
Goodness gracious almighty. Everybody, holy smokes, the chat. But also, if you're in the chat right now, put in your score predictions. Mandatory, you have to. If you're watching, you got to see what y'all are saying. David's saying 42-20 FSU. So about the complete opposite of what you
There you go, David.
Justin. There you go, David.
Nate David saving the FSU program right there.
Yeah, if that happens, it'll be in the articles.
Yeah.
In just about 2 years, it probably will be.
It's better to just prepare yourself for pain, and then when it happens, you don't feel as bad.
That is true. That does happen.
That's kind of how I feel. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I prepare for a blowout, we only lose by like 6. I'm like, oh, not bad.
Mm-hmm. For me, I'm not worried about too much of Louisville's defense, but I also, like we talked about, FSU's play calling and the offense scares me, so that doesn't help me there. And then look on the other side of things, Florida State's Adam Fuller versus Malik Cunningham, which will probably make him look like a Heisman nominee by the third quarter. That's what hurts me
like
even
the second
more.
Coming of Lamar Jackson.
Yep, but we'll get flashes of that, and it shouldn't even be a threat, but it is with Florida State's defense. I'm really worried. So this is going to be what's happened. This is what I think is going to happen. Florida State's going to have some little bit of rhythm on offense, but on the other side of the ball, the defense is going to be just, they can't handle it. Louisville's going to start scoring, and we'll get the same old heads are down, guys aren't fully trying, tackles are missed, and that's where Louisville just keeps running up the score. And that's why a lot of these guys on here are predicting a high score, because that's probably what we're going to see. That's most likely what's going to happen on Saturday. I don't think it'll be that much of a score. I do think, how many points until you, I think Florida State's defense has now allowed 90-something points in 3 games. How many points in order to have Fuller move on real quick before I give my score prediction? How many points does it have to be from Adam
Hopefully
Fuller?
just
35?
6. Hopefully it's just 6.
35?
One touchdown is out of there.
35 and it's over? Or 40?
I think they got to get to 50.
40 plus.
40 plus?
But I forget the exact stat, but I believe like the last 9 games or something like that, FSU Louisville has gone over the over-under. So
worth noting.
Over-under, I think it's 60.5 or 62.5. And then the spread has dropped to 1.5. So, it started out as 3, right?
3.
I think it was.
And then it went down to 2.
I think it was 2 or maybe even 1.5 when it first opened.
So, what's the longest losing streak at Doak?
It's got to be from those years of
since I was
19.
Like when Doak was Doak. So since Bowden, what's the longest losing streak in I'm gonna have to look that up.
Maybe 3.
Because now we're looking at Florida State losing.
This would be the 3rd at home.
0-3.
They beat Duke last year at home, last game of the season.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm loving the comments. Everybody's saying, F it. And then they put FSU to win.
Yeah, man.
And then they got FSU winning. They get the laughing faces next to it.
Listen, guys.
Because they don't want to make themselves look silly. But Nate's doing it for you. Nate's taking care of the silliness for you here.
All y'all listen, man. Like, when I came on to No Game Day, I steered them in the right direction. You just follow me. I'm going to get you that W.
Yeah, no, we've never had any problems with comments or anything. We haven't had Jordan Travis's brothers get mad about anything. It's been all good. It's been all roses.
I mean, you can kind of see Nate was kind of right. So,
here we go. All right, first, let me get my score before we.
Wait. Thank you, Dustin. I was correct.
But was he fully correct about Milton?
Me?
Yeah, I thought it was just the oncoming of the next Archie.
No, oh my God!
I never said that.
It sounded well. How'd he look against Wake? Who was the best quarterback on Saturday? Who led down the field?
That quarterback is not available. So,
well, who? What? I'm going back to Saturday.
Why does it matter?
I'm talking about this Saturday.
It doesn't matter.
I'm talking about. Nate was talking about, or Dustin was saying it. But
Logan,
whoever gets you points on the board as a quarterback, we know who's a quarterback. But
Logan,
as someone leaning down the field.
They scored 14 points against Wake Forest, so let's not celebrate that L.
And none with Milton. Let's move on. Score prediction 35, Louisville 21, FSU. I think that's going to be my most accurate score of the season, and I'm putting my lock on it. Why are you looking at me like that, Dustin?
Because it's gonna be more points than that.
More?
30-28, y'all. Believe.
So if Dustin's score and Austin's score are correct, then Adam Fuller's fired on Saturday night.
I don't think they'll fire him unless it's
like real talk, like for real. Like if FSU loses by 3 touchdowns, man, FSU's looking at 2 wins tops. This is not a good Louisville team.
I think they're already looking at 2 wins tops.
UMass
and maybe Syracuse.
What's the ceiling right now? 4-8. You beat Louisville, Cuse, UMass, and BC or NC State. That's like
Miami.
The prime ceiling.
They're beating Miami.
Oh my god!
Can't wait for the game on.
Where is that being
filmed?
filmed?
At 7 a.m.
National Geographic at
Florida
7?
State is beating Miami.
I'm not like laughing at it because I don't think Miami's fantastic, but
they're
I just love how like you're just
they're gonna have an interim coach by the time FSU plays Miami. So
I want Manny
Diaz to be up out of
there.
They're gonna have Rhett Lashley as the interim coach, and then they're gonna go out and try to get Mario Cristobal. And he's going to laugh at him. Then they'll try to get Billy Napier. He's going to laugh at him. They'll end up with Larry Coker coming back because Miami sucks.
Oh, man. Goodness gracious.
Go ahead and get the bets in now. Florida State 75, Miami 2. Get the bets in now.
Oh, my goodness. It seems like I'm the only one laughing, but for the podcast people, Austin and Dustin are also.
We're dying in the background.
I have to mute it, man.
Yeah, we're dying.
Oh, goodness. So, Lordy Day, we got to get off here. But yeah, we'll be up there. Press box. We'll have coverage. We'll have a live thread on Sports Illustrated on the site. We'll have live coverage, live tweets. We'll have an instant reaction show right there immediately. We'll have press conference. Quotes, everything. So a lot more coverage coming on our way. And I just went through my brain of how much is about to start happening. I'm about to lose it. But we're excited. Definitely appreciate everybody listening and watching this evening. If you haven't yet, go check out the site. Like I said, at least going to be about a 75 article week here. Go check out the articles. Lots of stuff, lots of content. If you're worried about Bailey Hockman, it's on the website. If you're worried about Warren Thompson, it's on the website. We're all over the place. We're in coverage on every area. And also shout out to Jacquez Patrick signing with the 53-man roster over there with the 49ers. That's great news. And we did talk NFL Knowles. Real quick, Jalen Ramsey's a dog. Derwin James is the best safety. Dalvin Cook is, I think, just warming up. And Brian Burns is dirty.
Asante had a pick.
Asante Samuel, number 2, when targeted against a pretty talented receiving core in Dallas. So no, he battled against Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, both 2 really good route runners. So
yeah,
that's really good to see him having a great start to the season.
Brian Burns, man, doesn't get talked about enough, but he was all over Jameis.
Field goal kicker university.
Yeah, that's true.
Hopkins and Gano had 5 for 5.
And then 6 for
along a 55.
They were combined 8 for 8.
8 of 8. Yeah,
and game-winning field goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, like everybody played. Everybody played with Jameis. Will bounce back. I'm not too worried about that. No, they'll get back into a groove there. For their staff there were COVID-19 all over the place. Marshawn Lattimore is just not going to play after getting all that money. Still don't have Michael Thomas.
Out.
It was just a beat up, and
Louise doesn't know how to block.
Yeah, they haven't been home either. So,
and their stadium caught on fire yesterday.
Yeah, like everything's falling apart. But
Wait,
I'm not
what?
too worried about. I'm not worried
about that.
I did not see that.
I don't know how bad it was, but at one point yesterday, the Superdome was on fire, and there was like a picture of someone on top of the building.
Wow.
Not
Yikes.
really sure what exactly transpired there.
Yikes.
Josh Sweat. Yeah, Josh Sweat is who got paid.
You got to shout out Josh Sweat for getting paid.
Yep, got paid. I don't have the number on me.
Shout out my former classmate.
29 million.
Former classmate.
Yeah.
29 million guaranteed.
Hey, to come back after that knee injury that kid suffered in high school, I mean, that just shows, he's got a damn good work ethic.
Yeah, it does. Good for him. So, NFL knows, man.
And the kid played as a true freshman at FSU.
Mm-hmm.
People
they almost amputated his leg.
Yeah. Like for him to make it back and to have now a long-term career, he'll end up playing 6, 7, 8 years after that knee injury. I think is really good to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, NFL knows rolling, baby. Good to watch on Sundays after Florida State's games on Saturday. Can't lie. But, best of luck to the NFL Knowles this upcoming weekend. Gentlemen and ladies, thanks so much for watching. If you're on YouTube, definitely hit that like button. If you've still been hanging around, definitely appreciate everybody in the chat. Johnny, Mendoza. I know Eric Angel was in here early. A ton of other people in here chatting it up. Definitely appreciate all of our regular listeners there. If you're on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, hit that subscribe button. If you're on iTunes right now, or if you were going to listen to it later, go to the reviews and leave a rating. If you leave a 5-star, that really does help us out. Leave a review on how much back hair do you think Dustin Lewis has. We definitely appreciate it. Drop that down into the iTunes review there so Nate can get an understanding of what his budget, what he's got to work with for the rest of the month. So,
for the record, no one on this podcast has seen my back. So let's just put that out there.
We stayed in a hotel together in Orlando.
I got pictures.
Okay.
Logan sent it to me. You guys are cuddling.
Oh, man.
What happens at the Kenny Shaw camp stays at the Kenny Shaw camp.
That is true. Per Carlos Williams. All right. Y'all be good. Everybody enjoy the rest of y'all's week. Get ready for the game this upcoming weekend. Enjoy sports. And we'll be there talking to you guys inside Doak for the instant reaction. That's so weird to say, but we'll be there inside Doak for the instant reaction this time. Y'all enjoy it. Have a great rest of y'all's week. We'll talk to you guys on Saturday evening.